Morning. Hold on, I gotta minimize and move all these windows. Before we get going today, I just wanted to share this with you. The UUA released the following statement yesterday condemning the attack on former President Donald Trump, and it reads as follows. Unitarian Universalism believes in the right of free speech and the democratic process. Attacks like those on Saturday's political rally weaken democracy, and the UU Association condemns this attack. At a time when democracy is already at risk, these events will only make our political environment more precarious. As we prepare to meet this moment, we must return to our spiritual grounding and faithful practice. Take a breath, reflect together, wait for emerging truth over quick speculation. Anchor yourself in communities and relationships that foster resilience, liberation, and strategy. Cultivate nuance and seek out deep wisdom, political analysis, and spiritual grounding, as misinformation about this and everything else, for that matter, will be rampant. Our UU tradition is rooted in the values of human dignity, justice, compassion, and democratic principles. We will remain vigilant in our commitment to protecting our democracy and the integrity of its principles and the rights of all peoples. Let us keep love at the center. We are in this together. Our opening words this morning are from Tony Award-winning actor Andre DeShields. Humanity is on a treadmill that is moving fast, and if you were to ask, where are you going, the answer might very well, I don't know, but I know I need to get there quickly. Because we have convinced ourselves that life is short. I don't buy that. Life is long. It appears too short because we are in a hurry to accumulate things. That is not the meaning of life. Life is to realize your purpose.
summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich, and your mama's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. You're gonna spread your little wings and take to the sky. Until that morning, ain't nothing's gonna harm you. With Mama and Papa standing by.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tom. That was like soothing balm for my soul. I don't know about you folks. Tom Ellinger helping on music today. Thank you so much. Good morning. Welcome to Minnesota Valley UU Fellowship. My name's Laura. I'm the minister here. I'm a short, round woman with gray hair and wire rim glasses. Today I'm wearing a black and white lightweight shirt. And my pronouns are she, her. Also helping with today's service, Tom's on music, Richard Duffin's on tech. We've got Kelly Hughes and Mimi Law and Barb Gillian as greeters. Patrick Westcott and Andrea Anderson are our ushers today. Mimi and Barb, along with Emily Campa, are providing refreshments for the service, for after the service today. I want to let you know that there's plenty of snacks after the service because everybody brought plenty, and you can make a nice light little lunch for yourself. So please, if you're inclined and able, hang out and enjoy some refreshments and fellowship with one another after the service. One of the ways that we do act as stewards for the fellowship is by pitching in to help get things done, like ushering and greeting and singing. I'm going to pass around a clipboard that has the summer sign up for hospitality. During the regular church year, we have it all kind of assigned, but during the summer, it's kind of a who's available kind of thing. So, Tom, will you grab this for me and pass around? Sorry. So thanks for helping out with that We come together this morning on the sacred homelands of the Dakota people and commit ourselves to be worthy co-stewards of this land. We engage in this work centered in the grounding value of love and wholly aware of our interconnectedness to all. A special welcome to anybody joining us for the first time today. I know we have a couple of visitors here. We invite you to fill out a visitor form in the lobby. There's also a green welcome packet. If you take that home, that's got quite a bit of, well, not quite a bit, but just the right amount of information about us to help get you a little more acquainted. Filling out that form will get you on our email list, and then you'll get the Friday email every week, which kind of lets you know what's going on. And also you get the newsletter, though we only do one in the summer, so you can also access that newsletter, anybody, on our website. If you're joining us online for the first time today, you can find that form for visitors in the comment or chat area. A couple of announcements. I had originally scheduled some cleaning days here at the fellowship today and next Sunday, but I canceled those because I knew there was some cleaning that needed to go on at the house that we own next door, which happened yesterday, and they did a great job. So we're going to focus on the house next door, and then we'll get back to cleaning this place up next month. If you are interested in helping with any of that, for those of you that don't know, we own the property next door, and we're making some upgrades and maintenance kinds of things going on to get it ready for new renters soon. So if you want to help with that, you can talk to Richard Duffin, who's back there, or you can talk to Steve. They can let you know what kinds of things we might need help with. Today, after the service, I'm having a little gathering for newcomers who are interested in learning a little bit more about the fellowship, or there are a couple of folks I know that are interested in membership. So if you're new or newish to here and you want to learn a little bit more about that, you can meet me in the fireside room like 5 minutes after the end of the service or so you got time to take a bio break, and please go downstairs and grab some fruit and some crackers and cheese or whatever, and you can bring that up to the fireside room, which is right out here. Whatever has brought you to the shared space which we create together today, may you find compassion and comfort and companionship, those things that you are seeking. And I ask, will you please join me in our chalice lighting today? The words are from Gertrude Stein. Every day is a miracle. Every morning is a daily miracle. This joy you feel is life. Our opening hymn for today is Morning Has Broken. Each week, we set aside a few moments to lift up the joys and sorrows and concerns of those gathered. If you're here in person, you can raise your hand, and one of the ushers will come around with a microphone for you to share. If you're watching on YouTube, we invite you to share in the chat or comment area there. And if you're on Zoom, if you share in the chat, we can read it aloud here. Who has something to share today, Steve?
I have the joy, which is that together we got a huge amount of work done next door. And it's suddenly the yard actually looks like a yard as opposed to a no man's land and stuff like that. So we did a lot of work, and I'd like to thank all of you who were able to make it there. And for those of you who missed the opportunity, if you would like to get involved in something there, please let us know. Thank you.
You pick a cooler day.
Yesterday wasn't too bad, though. It was surprisingly good. It was refreshing. I'm looking for you. So this is the first time of the day.
I was out of town.
Come back.
My name is Matthew Schneider. This is a concern for the world and our nation. What transpired yesterday should not ever happen. Violence only breeds violence. We will not get through this world with more violence. I do not know what this person's motives were. There is wild speculation online about various different thoughts on that. We need to just wait for facts to come out and then make a determination for ourselves what is right. But I have no problem saying that even the act of this is wrong.
On a lighter note, my joy today is kind of a thank you to those of you who have lovely lake cabins to which you invite us in the summer. I've had the privilege to go to 2 of them in the last couple weeks, and it's so refreshing. We have some beautiful places in our state, and I hope you get to see those in the Twin Cities and in Greater Minnesota.
Hi, my name is Yamini. This is a concern. So far this year, I have been in the hospital twice, and I was in the hospital last week and found out it was an E. coli where I went to a restaurant the following week before, and I had 103 fever for 3 weeks, and they put me on antibiotics. I'm still recovering from that. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's an Indian place. It's called Hyderabad Indian Grill. It's with Nicollet Avenue in Minneapolis.
Not the one here in Bloomington, they're good.
So I always used to order from there, but then this time I went and picked up. That place inside smelled like rotten wood. And the place wasn't even keeping up. But I don't know how, like when I saw the reviews online, they are great, except few saying that the quality of the food was coming down. I was thinking to call health department and report it so that they do the inspection, so other people do not want to get. I don't want people around me to get like on there.
Can you say the name of the restaurant one more time?
Hyperblad in where?
The Hyderabad Indian Grill, it's with Nicollet Avenue in Minneapolis.
In Minneapolis.
The one here in Bloomington is fine.
Hyperblad in Minneapolis, not the one in Bloomington. For those online who can only hear off a microphone, be wary. Who else has anything today? Candace.
Hi, I'm Candace Ways. I just wanted to say I've been gone for a few weeks, just various summer things. I got to go up to Michigan to visit family and be with my kids, Owen and Avery, and it was just really fun. But I am also really happy to be back here And yeah, I love being here, so thanks.
Hi, I'm Marcy Lovejoy, and still going through my eye saga, but a little better info last week, so one more surgery. Maybe they still think we're on the path for some sight in my left eye for me. Meanwhile, family came yesterday going up to make me a minimalist, although there's some sorrow with that too, and it's like, what do you mean my butcher block doesn't belong here? But at least I won't be tripping around the place. And then I am always so thankful for all of the kindness of so many people here with, rides and greetings. And I sure enjoyed the glitter blessing last week. All these things are so uplifting. So have a nice week, all.
Anybody else? Lorna?
I just wanted to share with you that as of July 1st, I'm now living in St. Paul. My son Dave was here from Oregon for 10 days helping me get settled, and then I had help from people from the church, Gail and Ann Corliss, Gail Russell, and appreciate everybody that helped. I'm completely settled in my place except for the basement. I still got boxes that I have to go through, but otherwise I'm home. And so I'm really, really grateful for all the help.
Hi, I'm Will. Okay. Hi, I'm Will Hodgson. This past week, almost all my siblings, 6 out of the total 7 that I have, are all in town at the same time. And my kids got to play with their growing set of cousins. My family is about half are Mormon, half are not, but I'm also grateful that we've found ways to be peaceful about that.
I'm Nan Corliss, and I want to thank everyone who took a packet to write to potential voters. They're all distributed now, and you can return them here whenever you've written the 60 messages why it's important to vote. So if you don't have stamps, that's fine. Moose Jaw will put the stamps on for you after you turn them. But if you want to provide stamps, don't hold your breath. The postage is going up on the 14th of this month. And a postcard will cost 56 cents each to mail. So they're not cheap. But thanks so much to everyone who has participated in the writing effort. You the vote.
Do we have anything on Zoom, Richard?
Not sure. Carolyn's expressing her feelings about the whole service. She says, love it, and I feel so comfortable here.
Great. Anyone else this morning? We lift up the joys and sorrows that have been named and those that reside in the sanctuary and silence of our hearts. Will you please join in our sung response? For our centering space today, I've chosen the meditation on breathing, which is in our teal hymnal, but you don't really need that. This is a simple sung chant. It's sung in 3 parts. So the first part underlying is is just simply low voice. Breathe in, breathe out. We're gonna watch a video, so you're gonna get it all there. Just so you know, don't rely on just me and my poor ability to carry a tune. Then the main part is, when I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. Right? Some of us know that, right? And then there's another one that kind of goes on the top that's a little more melodic that I'm not even gonna do. But those of you that are that, you'll get it right up there. So before we begin, maybe find a comfortable position, because though this is a kind of sung thing, it's also, it's a breathing meditation. You're kind of meant to like feel the resonance of all of those words through your body, right? Hitting those nerves. You can feel the resonance of us all singing together in your bones, if you will. Let's take a couple of deep breaths together. And let's begin. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Folks, Veep is running a summer or a back-to-school school supply drive. The supplies that they most need are backpacks, scientific calculators, wireless headphones, and earbuds are in high demand. If you're able, you might consider dropping off some school supplies at Veep, or I cleared that table off back there. You can drop them off there. The school supply drive runs through the end of the month, though my guess is they'll be taking things all summer, but we'll have a table back there set up for it if you want to bring anything in here. Veep is also our Sunday sharing partner for the summer. They do a great job doing things like this and other offerings of social services, and they're the largest food shelf in the Twin Cities. We share half of our offering with them this summer, and we thank you for your support. Will the ushers please come forward for the offering? When we live lives of service and generosity, we create justice and joy. Before I move on to today's topic, I just want to say a couple things about Sunday sharing. The one is that QR code, which was up there. It's also in the order of service. If you click on that, you can make a donation electronically, but you can also set it up so that it comes out monthly. That's what I do, so that I never have to remember to do it again, because I'd be bad at that. So that's great if you want to participate in Sunday sharing. You know that that's something important to you year-round to set that up. And the second thing is that the Social Action Racial Justice Committee will be getting together sometime next month and likely working on curating a list of sharing partners for the coming year. I'm sure they're always open for suggestions. They prefer organizations that are local organizations that make an impact, that reflect our mission and values in our local communities. If you need to know who is on that committee, you can email Jeannie in the office and she'll let you know. Or if you have a suggestion, you could just email that to Jeannie in the office and she would pass it along. Was that what you're going to ask, Barb? That works too. So if you have suggestions, it'd be nice if, you know, if they have a pool of folks, and how they get picked sometimes too. We might, if there's a theme that we're working on that month that we know they might fit better in, you know, we look for things that kind of go with what we're doing at certain times. And certainly election things, probably the beginning of the year will be a priority. But thanks for your help with that. So how are you? Good? Fine? Okay? No. No? Okay. Are you great? I'm fantastic. Living the dream. Anybody? Are you hanging in there? Okay. Are you could be worse? That great minimizing Midwest statement of meaning I'm really crappy, but I'm not going to say that because that would be centering attention on myself. We don't like to do that. The reality is, of course, that we're much more complicated than any of those phrases that we offer to each other, because part of our culture is to politely ask people who they are, even when we don't really want to know, right? The store clerk asks you how you are, making small conversation. When you're in line, I'm not sure that they really want to know what's going on with me in my life, right? This is like a cultural thing for us, y'all know, right? When I was in Paris last winter, and like, you say bonjour to everybody, but you don't dare ask strangers how they are. That is not a thing in other countries. They don't do that. We do here. And then when people coming here, they have to learn our culture, that you ask people how they are, but you don't really want to know how they are, and you don't really want to tell them how they are. They must have to learn that when they watch the travel vlogs for coming to visit us, right? We have culture too, folks. That's part of it. But the truth is, we're much more complicated than our answers of fine, okay, living the dream, could be worse, right? Those are just surface things. The other day, I was driving my Honda when a chime rang from the dash and a message appeared letting me know that I was due for maintenance, B12 to be exact. Also last week, my MacBook told me that I needed to install software updates, which of course means that at some point I have to restart and reboot my MacBook. Our smart TV at home sometimes won't load whatever screening app we're trying to use, and I have to hold down the power button for 3 seconds to reset the TV, and then all, YouTube and Hulu or whatever will load appropriately. We got a new espresso maker, which I'm so excited about. I'm learning to be a barista. And I noticed the other day when I went to make my morning little latte that I love, that the water tray, there was this little thing that had floated up and said, "Empty me." Now, I'm a minister, so I'm like, well, that'll preach, right? So I know Christian ministers, they use the source of the Bible, and other folks use the Quran or Jewish scriptures and what have you. Good UU minister can preach off of their cappuccino machine. Empty me. In a culture where we minimize how we actually feel, how do we know when we need maintenance? When we need to be rebooted or restarted, or when our tray needs to be emptied? How do we know? Well, we often know when it's too late, right? We've all been there. When our emotional and spiritual vehicles break down, when the channels don't load, when the screen is frozen, when the water is overflowing, making a huge mess everywhere, wet coffee grounds all over the floor. When personal tragedy strikes, we can't avoid that. We can't avoid feeling overflowed then. We can't avoid feeling frozen and overwhelmed. But most other times, we can do a little bit to help avoid that. We just need to think of our spirits and our psyches the same way we think about our devices, our vehicles, our homes, and our appliances. We need a maintenance schedule, a spiritual maintenance schedule, and a spiritual toolbox, I would add too. And so that's what I want to talk to you about this week and next week. So this week we're going to talk about spiritual care in the form of Sabbaths and retreat. Next week we're going to talk about prayer and meditation. So when I was in high school, my best friend's stepfather was Jewish, and I stayed over at her house a lot on Friday nights. And as such, joined them for Shabbat dinner, which always began with the lighting of candles and the reciting of a prayer, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. I don't remember the rest. And then we passed the bread and we ate dinner. That's the beginning of the Jewish Sabbath, which runs from sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday. The Jewish faith dictates that no work should be done during the Sabbath. The folks should instead focus on rest, gratitude, and what the universe or God provides for them. The idea of the Sabbath in that context comes from the creation story. It's also in the Ten Commandments in the Hebrew Scriptures. The Scriptures say that after creating the world, God rested on the seventh day, and that we too should keep it holy. These are the same scriptures that Christians use, so of course it's in there. The seventh day they consider to be Sunday, which is of course why we're sitting here this morning, because we have Christian roots, and we took Sunday as a Sabbath, and that's when people worshiped and gathered. Most countries that have Judeo-Christian roots are going to have Saturday and Sunday as their days off during the week. Islamic countries, on the other hand, have it on Fridays. They have Friday noon prayers, and then after that, a lot of times the rest of the day is off in Islamic countries, or sometimes the whole day of Friday is off. So they also have a Sabbath. These religious types of Sabbaths are meant to be days where folks abstain from work and focus on spiritual grounding in our relationships with one another, and also to focus on gratitude and generally caring for ourselves and others. This is one way to look at Sabbath, but there are other ways to look at Sabbath too, and I've talked about this before. We can take a social media or a news Sabbath, right? And I'm going to argue that that might be just as good for our spirits as some other type of rest in a Sabbath, right? Sometimes it's not, Sabbaths are a lot about abstaining from. You get what I'm saying? Like it's not working. But in our world, so much of our anxiety, so much of our stress also comes from social media and the news. And so it's right that we take a break from that as well. One question often asked about creating Sabbath time is, what am I meant to do? Just nothing? Abraham Joshua Herschel advises, if you work with your hands, Sabbath with your mind. And if you work with your mind, Sabbath with your hands. So those of us who spend our time reading, writing, working on screens, might consider doing activities, engaging activities like sewing projects, gardening, creative endeavors, cooking, right? Those might be things that help us to relax. And those that work with their hands and their bodies might consider doing a more mind-centered activity. They, for them, reading or journaling might be a good thing to do, right? The bottom line is that during a Sabbath time, you get away from the daily grind and focus your time on things that are nourishing to your spirit. You can also consider that the idea of Sabbath doesn't need to be a whole day, right? It might work better for you, actually, if you spend 3 or 4 hours of Sabbath time on Wednesday and then the early part of Sunday, right? This is especially true if you've got maybe kids at home. Really busy during the week. You might need a couple hours midweek to just kind of like take a little breather, right? And Sunday, maybe the early part of the day, just having that time set aside for that is good, because maybe in the evening hours you've got to think about getting things ready for school or whatever happens during the school time of year. Now, there is a fine line between Sabbath and self-care. Presbyterian minister Rebecca Grisham writes, both take away from daily responsibilities, but the focus on self-care is on paying attention to your needs, whereas the focus of Sabbath is sacred. So it's really about intention, right? So how you connect, and I want to my definition of spirituality. My definition of spirituality, this is a good time to remind, this is what my definition is. You can look for other definitions, or maybe you have your own. But mine is simply this, that spirituality is your relationship with everything beyond self. So self-care is just concerning me, I'm doing this for me, right? But something sacred, something spiritual, you're considering your relationship with everything else, your relationship with the universe, that interconnected web of existence that we talk about all the time. That's what you're trying to be in that space. So that's a different focus than just, I'm going to go get a massage for self-care. If you're going to go get a massage for self-care and spend your time on the table really focused on the things that you're grateful for, or really focused on the things that you need healing for, and let your mind be in that space, then it's a little more Sabbathy than self-care. Does that make sense? All right, so what I'd like to do is maybe hear from you, like what kinds of things work for you when you need to take a few hours, or do you take a day? What's part of your routine? And the ushers are going to come around with microphones, because I was watching on YouTube last week. You can't hear anything unless you're on a microphone. Greg, you got something?
Yes.
Okay, so wait for a microphone. Thanks.
Part of my ritual of settling down even at night after I get back from Walgreens after getting off work at 11 p.m. and listen to some really good jams. I'm talking about Aretha Franklin. I'm talking about Michael Jackson. I'm talking about Prince. I'm talking about Queen. I'm talking about Yes, Genesis. I mean some good music with some good lyrics. Something that is uplifting, energizing. Sometimes I even want to dance.
Dancing is great.
Dancing is great too.
Yeah.
If you've seen me and Marshall dancing we were dancing at this church here about a month and a half ago. No shame in my game.
Who else has something that they do kind of as a sacred practice of settling into some more restful time? And this can be, Sabbath or any small thing that you might do during the week. There you go.
Barb again. Couple things. Since I think it was the service 2 weeks ago, when we sang repeatedly the song that Kai led us in, How Can Anyone Ever Tell You That You're Anything Less Than Beautiful? That's part of my getting going in the morning routine, and it connects me to my deepest self, but also I imagine singing it with others,
Right.
and so it becomes a little more spiritual that way. And especially in this summer, nature is what gives me just awe and widens my focus. And of course, I've been especially aware of that as at these lake cabins that I had the pleasure to visit. But there are many other places. Just my flower pots on my balcony, you know, and the magic of the new buds opening up.
Dan over here, Rich, or Patrick.
Test. Oh,
Yep.
good. So I meditate 3 or 4 times a week. A little more rarely, I'll do my own personal rituals to get into some sacred space. And then if I really have the time and the opportunity, like Barb, I'm going to go get lost in the woods.
Anybody else? Richard?
I have to say that time I spend with my young grandchildren, where I'm able to suspend my own conscious process and simply be with an unfiltered view, usually a pretty happy view of the world and what's going on around them, I find very energizing, hopeful, and it's not something I was able to do with my own kids because I was so wrapped up in the rest of life. So it's been good.
Eric Grady on Zoom says that he likes to go for walks with his dog and look at flowers and nature. And so the difference between walking your dog and it becoming something that's a little more like a Sabbath time is that you do stop to smell the flowers and you do stop to notice things, even if it's just the colors and naming the colors and the sights and the sounds that are around you. It's kind of about intention. Anybody else? All right.
Yeah, I have a practice when I wake up in the middle of the night and can't fall back to sleep, which is frequent. I start thinking about a person using the alphabet. I'll go A to Z, first name, last name, and I'll think about them, and it's very relaxing, and you know, I'll wish them well, or I won't say I'm praying for them, but as close as you could be in doing that. And rarely do I get through the alphabet and finish before I fall asleep.
That's a lovely practice. Right, so Sabbath can be a practice of a whole day, a few hours, even a few minutes here and there. But it's about finding time where we intentionally create space for rest and renewal in a spiritual manner. And it's important. It's very important to your overall, well, it's important to your spiritual health, but I'm going to say your overall health in general, because it does help to reduce stress and disrupt the overwhelming feelings that we sometimes get stuck in, or the numbness. You know, some of us get stuck in feelings of anxiety and fear and overwhelmed, and others of us just shut everything out and numb out, right? So it can disrupt that and give us some space to be a little bit deeper in our interconnections with everything that's around us. And I always say this doesn't have anything to do with God. unless it does, right? So those of you that don't have anything with it to do with God, doesn't have anything to do with God. Those of you that do, it does, okay? So we're all very different, and our spirituality manifests itself in as many ways as there are people. So that's great, making time during the week for those little things, for Sabbath time, or saying a daily prayer of gratitude at dinner. All of those things are wonderful to upkeep us on the little daily basis. But it's also, I think, important that we occasionally take a longer period of time for spiritual renewal, and here I'm talking about a retreat. How many here have ever gone on a spiritual retreat? A few. So look at those hands. Those are the people you want to talk to later while you're eating your cheese and crackers. Now, there's different kinds of retreats, first of all. The board is having their annual retreat next month, which is mostly about team building and visioning, right? The Needlework Guild that meets here every week, they're having a retreat here next month for needleworking, stitching, and all that kind of stuff, where folks come together and sharpen their skills and spend time strengthening and building their community bonds with one another. And those retreats can have an effect on replenishing our spirits, but if they do, that's the secondary result of what the goal is of those retreats, right? So a spiritual retreat is different because that's the first goal, is just healing your spirit, giving your spirit some space. And a spiritual retreat is not only different, it's also usually a lot quieter, really quiet sometimes, right? Now, the timeline for a spiritual retreat can vary. It can be a whole day or just part of a day. It can be several days or a week or more. But it differs a little bit from Sabbath in its intention and its intensity. So you can have a half-day spiritual retreat, but it's not quite going to be Sabbath. You're just kind of focusing on rest with an outcome of feeling renewed. Retreats are focused on renewal itself and have much more emphasis on engaging in reflection and spiritual practice. So I usually try to take at least one solo silent retreat for a few days every year. Sometimes, last time I went to Packham and Terrace, which is north of the city, is about an hour. They have little hermitages there. Sometimes I've gone to Metta Meditation Center, which is a Buddhist, so Packham is a Christian-run center. Metta is a Buddhist-run center down by Mankato. Both have these hermitages, which are small furnished dwellings meant for solitary retreats. And I spend my time there in silence. My phone is off the entire time I'm there. I might bring a book of poetry or meditations, but I don't bring anything for like pleasure reading or to study. I spend a lot of time watching birds and walking, and a lot of time just staring out the window to watch the light change. I usually sleep a lot more when I'm there because my spirit realizes it's tired, and so I sleep a lot. And I also spend a significant amount of my time in retreats engaged in prayer or loving kindness meditation. For those of you who need a reminder about loving kindness meditation, it kind of goes like, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be well. May you be happy, may you be peaceful, may you be well. And then you might name people after that. May Alicia be happy, may Alicia be peaceful, may Alicia be well. During my meditation, I just kind of like Glenn with his list, except for I'm not as organized to do it in an alphabetized manner. I just name my family, each of my family and loved ones, people that are close to me, and then I turn my focus on y'all. And I don't have a list in front of me, but I just start naming as many of you as I can, praying for you and wishing you well while I'm there. Now, a word on that, and we'll talk a little bit more about this next week too, but I realize that my wishes in the silence of a cabin somewhere aren't going to magically affect you where you're sitting, right? But they affect me and my connection with you and my caring for you, and that much I know for sure. So in that regard, it's completely worth it to me because I feel so much more caring and connected to all of you when I spend time to do that. It is putting positive vibes in the universe out there, and maybe it works, but we don't know exactly how that happens, so I'm just sticking with the part that I absolutely know happens. So yes, are there positive vibes out there, and yes, does it make a difference? Yeah, but yes, and I also don't know how that works, so I'm not gonna try and explain that to anybody.
Maybe we don't need it. We don't need an
There you go, you don't need to know. That's a great comment. Now, I've also done day-long or part days at Common Ground Meditation Center in Minneapolis. Now, those retreats, that's a Buddhist meditation center, they're usually periods of silence that are interdispersed with Dharma talks, so it's a little more guided. So there are those types of spiritual retreats as well. And I have thought about, but I haven't gotten brave enough yet, to do the 10-day silent retreats that are offered by it's one of the Hindu, the one that starts with a V. This, I don't know. I'm looking at you like you know everything about all of that. I apologize. Anyway, there's a 10-day retreat for that just over the border in Wisconsin, and I've thought about it, but I haven't quite gotten there. Also, they make you get up at like 5:30 to start being quiet. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, they have a retreat center, a house where they do that kind of stuff, just over, not far, maybe an hour, hour and a half from here. Maybe it's near Eau Claire, I'm not sure. Anyway, I haven't quite gotten up the curve. Have you done it? No. Have any of you done it? No. You gonna let me do it and then get back to you? Okay. That's a goal. But that brings up what kind of, those of you who have done retreats, what kinds of things have you done? And how did you feel after what did you get out of it? Anybody, microphones too, we need microphones for this part. Anybody want to share? Alicia up here?
I'll stand because I'm really short. When I was a teenager, probably early teenager, I did the Teens Encounter Christ retreat with my cousin. And I don't consider myself a Christian anymore, but at the time, I went along with her, and it was so powerful, so much connection. It's very structured. You don't find out till later how structured it is, but it's talks and then table discussions and then music, and then they sing you into the dining hall and they feed you, and it was really amazing. It was I still carry around the Bible that I got with all the signatures from the people that were there and stickers, and it was wonderful. It was very cool.
I've done a number of different kinds of retreats over time, but what I find out is that I work in metaphors, and the metaphor of train of thought, every retreat I've ever been on, that train takes a long time to slow down, if it ever does.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it.
Yes, when I say I'm silent, I just mean I'm not talking. That doesn't mean there's not a million thoughts going on in my head. And, I've never been able to achieve that, like, whatever that silence bliss is that, Buddhists get in meditation. Actually, when I went to the Buddhist center once, the guy that was doing the orientation for newcomers that day said that he'd been meditating for 12 years and he think he'd achieved that for like 8 minutes of it. in 12 years. Like maybe that's what he had, the rest of the time you get that monkey mind and things going on. But when you're quiet also, you start listening to some of those thoughts, and if you keep pushing out the junk thoughts, the news and those kinds of thoughts, and be a little more open in your listening and deeper in your listening, sometimes something comes up that, you just made space for it. I mean, it was there, right? This feeling, this idea, this centering thought that you had, it was there. It just needed some space to come up, and so that's what you're doing there. So if you are interested in creating a better practice for yourself in terms of weekly routines, or you want to go on a retreat and you want some guidance on how to do that, please send me an email or talk to me. I'm always happy to help with suggestions for that. And with that, I'm going to close us out, and I want to ask you all to join in the words for extinguishing our chalice. Extinguish this flame, not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. You absolutely, positively deserve a break. All right? You. I'm talking to you, and you. You deserve a break. Not because of what you've done or what you haven't done, but simply because you are. And all living things deserve rest and renewal. And it's crucial to our well-being and our survival. And if you need it to be something oomph, it's an act of resistance against our culture that tells us that you have to strive and be doing things all of the time. We need to reframe that, because your value is not found there, but rather in the very existence of your being. And I want to return to those words before Tom sings us out today, those words from Gertrude Stein. Every day is a renewal, every morning the daily miracle. The joy you feel is life.
A friend of mine who died a couple of weeks ago was a great dancer. She taught dance, and one of the things that she always said when she started out was she invited everybody into a perfection-free zone. and after all these years of singing and playing and being with people, that fence of perfection still hangs out there. The best way I found to get rid of it is to just walk through it, because it ain't really there. This song was not one of Paul Simon's favorites, but you can sing along. I can't do this without having a little bit of my modern cynicism come up with the word groovy. But just dive into that groovy. Slow down, you move too fast. You gotta make the morning last. Just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. Hello, lamppost, what you knowin'? I've come to watch your flowers growin'. Ain't you got no rhymes for me? Do-do-do-do, feeling groovy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. I got no deeds to do, no promises to keep. I'm dappled and drowsy and ready to sleep. Let the morning time drop all its petals on me. Life, I love you, always groovy. ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling groovy. Slow down, you move too fast. Gotta make the morning last, just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. You guys are groovy.